Hello, fellow fans. I'm Mark. United with me is my co-host, the Bryan Panther. What up, Bryan?
Hey, everyone.
And just so everyone knows, that is not to be confused with Sex Panther for all you Anchorman fans out there.
60% of the time it works every time.
That still makes me laugh. Anyways, on the last episode, Bryan and I discussed Black Adam and our thoughts on that. So on this week's special episode, Bryan and I are going to be discussing our thoughts on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Now, don't tune out yet. Don't run away. We are going to keep it spoiler free in the first half, and then we will give you plenty of notice when we're going to let the spoilers fly. As United We Fan starts now.
The truth is, I am Iron Man.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
What is going on? What are you doing?
To infinity and beyond!
This is the way.
The flux capacitor.
Was Star Wars the one with the little wizard boy? Chewie, we're home.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Oh, chills. Literal chills.
That's right, fans. Hello. Thank you for tuning in again as United We Fan is back. And we do appreciate you all uniting as we talk about all things fandom. Please give us a rate or review wherever you listen so we can unite with more fans out there. Bryan, you and I, a couple hours ago, saw Wakanda Forever. You ready to dissect this?
I think I am. I've been trying to figure out how I want to put into words some things that I was feeling throughout the film. And even more so dissecting that into how I'm going to discuss it in a spoiler-free manner. So here we go.
Yeah, and don't forget, we will let you know when we're getting into the spoilers. So we're going to do like a intermission or a halftime, depending on your fandom. And then we'll start, we're going to get real spoily towards the last half. So, Bryan, man, I guess, should we say, is it the best Marvel movie of this year? You know, and we had Doctor Strange and Thor Love and Thunder. So, you know what? Rank those three, Bryan. Go.
Oh, yeah, it puts me on the spot. I will go Thor Love and Thunder 1, Wakanda Forever 2, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness 47. I hate that movie.
I know. You know what? Okay, for right now, I'm going to say I can't argue with that ranking, and I think I'm going to go with you on it. But after talking about it, I may flip-flop Thor, Love, and Thunder and Wakanda Forever. But I did have a bad habit where as soon as I got out of a Marvel movie and I said, oh, man, 2 thumbs up. Good, good, good. Mew, mew, mew. But I'm going to try my best not to do that this time. So
I saw you walking right out of the movie theater. So this is spoiler free. Is it as good as the first film? Absolutely not to me.
No.
It's accomplishing completely different things. It's set in a completely different tone, mood. Ryan Coogler filmed things very differently. They feel like they're two completely different films, to the credit of Ryan Coogler. He didn't just take what was successful in the first film and try and replicate it in the second film. I think that was a good move on his part. That being said, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That being said, I think a lot of the new things that he tried didn't completely work for me. I think he had an antagonist in mind in Namor, and I think he had a title in mind in Wakanda Forever. But if you look at the film as a whole, I'm not sure why it was called Wakanda Forever. I think that line was only uttered 2 or 3 times in the whole film.
I think it's more like symbolism because Wakanda almost fell a couple of times.
Yeah, but the main points of the film don't even take place in Wakanda for the most part either. There's a few really surprising characters that I thought was a lot of fun, which we get into our spoiler-free fashion. There was some information about those. So nothing caught me off guard for better or for worse.
So Black Panther, I think, is an amazing movie. You know, Best Picture nominated, and in a lot of people's top 5 of the Marvel rankings. So when you have to do a sequel to that, like, you can have a couple of scenarios where you have the Great Terminator, and then what happens? You have the Greater Terminator 2. You could have The Godfather, and then people go back and forth on which one's greater, Godfather 1 or Godfather 2. I'm Team Godfather. Anyways.
Are you really?
And
I'm a
yeah.
Godfather 2 guy.
So, and then you have it where you can try something different. So you have the greatness with Alien, and then you have, I think, the better greatness with Aliens. So, or you can have the mess that is going from the Dark Knight to the Dark Knight Rises. And
Well, I mean, that was even from 2 to 3 though, because if you're going from 2 to 3, Terminator, Godfather, you do have an issue with. But if you want to go 1 to 2, Wonder Woman to Wonder Woman 84.
Oof. Yeah. I mean, just this one, they tried something different, and I'm glad they didn't do the same recycle, but there's, Bryan, before this movie, I was someone who I was really sad that we couldn't get more T'Challa. I love the character. I know Chadwick Boseman. I love him. I love what he did with him. I do not envy anyone who had to replace him. I totally get it. I will say this movie made me okay with no more T'Challa. But I think because, the script was done for Black Panther 2 when sadly Chadwick Boseman passed away. So then Ryan Coogler, who is one of my favorite directors, check out his Fruitvale Station, Creed, the first Black Panther, amazing filmmaker. If this is his weakest movie, then he's doing all right. But he had to go back to the drawing board. And you could kind of tell, I felt like he took parts from his original script and then he tried to make it work in this new script, keeping parts of it, it's really hard not to give into spoilers right now, but you brought it up. The pacing was a little off.
So let's go from this standpoint. I think this particular character, it's not that just we went from Black Panther 1 to Black Panther 2, but we went from the introduction of Black Panther in Civil War to then Black Panther in Infinity War and Endgame before we got in there. So different than Godfather, Terminator, we checked in with these characters. We had a little bit more attachment to them, for lack of a better term. So I think this movie had a little bit more to accomplish than going in from Terminator 1 to T2 or going from A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back. Like, I think it had a lot more to accomplish. And the simple fact is, one of the best actors of our generation died in the middle of this franchise. How they handled that, I think, was handled beautifully. I'm with you. A lot of people are going to have their thoughts on recasting T'Challa or not. And when we get into our spoiler discussion here in just a little bit, we can talk more about that. But the way Coogler handled this, I think you're correct that he kept the heart of the story the same. What were Namor's intentions? I think those were all kept exactly the same, whether he was dealing with Queen Ramonda and Shuri or whether he was dealing with T'Challa. I think the motivations of Namor stayed the same, and I think they were able to adapt the story well enough. Was the pacing there? No. Does that have anything to do with Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa? I don't think so.
No. And, oh my God, Angela Bassett in this movie. So, like, the first movie, you have Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick Boseman giving I think Michael B. Jordan should have been nominated for supporting actor. Two great performances. And in this one, you get really good performances. Angela Bassett, though, I hope she gets a supporting actress nomination. I think she's got a strong case for a nomination. So
I think this was her film. She carried that performance. Queen Ramonda, Angela Bassett's character, takes what she was in the first movie, which was a cameo, and a little bit more than that. That may not be fair to say it, but she wasn't a main character in the film whatsoever compared to what you would expect Angela Bassett to be. She stepped up in this film and she nailed it. Her performance was awesome. The visuals of this film were gorgeous. There was a couple of times, Mark, we were in the same theater. Our projector was a little bit fuzzy. Yeah. So I don't think that was a filming choice. I'm going to go with that was the projector until I get a chance to see it again. But the way they filmed the underwater stuff, with Namor looked cool. I mean, simple fact is he's a guy that's always wet and has wings on his feet. How cool can you make that look? I think they did a really good job, and credit where credit is due to the actor. Mark, what did you make of the underwater stuff specifically? Was it better than Aquaman?
I think it looked better than Aquaman. I'm glad they didn't like talk in bubbles and all that. I think the sound engineers did a great job with it. Namor is a Marvel villain that I was actually really interested in. I'm okay with the changes they made to him, not having Atlantis and all that. You can't do that nowadays. People are going to get confused. So I like their whole rewrite of his origin. The actor did a great job because you liked him.
Tenoch
You also-
Huerta is the actor. Tenoch Huerta.
And you could tell he enjoyed the role. I liked that too. You felt for his character. You didn't hate him. So I think it was a very good villain.
Does this film fall short of the first one for you, partially because he's not as good of a villain as Eric Killmonger Stevens?
Yeah, I mean, Killmonger is like one of the top 5 villains in the MCU. So Namor, I don't think got his due, but that's also because the film didn't know which storyline to give more attention to. So it would, hey, we're under the sea. Hey, we're back with this character. Hey, we're with this person trying to develop them. Hey, I think unfortunately his story got shortchanged just because of lack of focus.
Yeah, and nothing. Whenever he showed up, it never caught me by surprise either. And I think the name Wakanda Forever, we spent a lot of this film outside of the borders of Wakanda, which is where I was standing. But when you're giving your villain that time, that face time to really learn who he is, and he's not from Wakanda, you're therefore going to have to spend time outside the borders of that country. So it is what it is. They never, that's a spoiler sentence. I'm going to save on to that. They do never really, I don't know if it's that spoilery, so I'll get into it.
Yeah.
We will be going into spoilers very soon. This is not spoilery. We're going to give our full warning after this, but I was simply going to say they never really explain how he ever gets inside the borders of Wakanda. It just kind of happens.
Bryan, do you think this movie will improve over time or with multiple viewings?
I hope so, because I don't want to. I struggled with a lot of it. Again, nothing caught me off guard. I don't expect it to get any better with subsequent viewings for me, though. I just don't.
Like Doctor Strange for me, I will put it on hoping it gets better, but then there's still parts that I just wasted so much goodness. And then Thor: Love and Thunder, it's not aging well for me. Actually, you know what movie is aging well? The Eternals. Ever since I watched the making of, and then I watched on Disney Plus, I still wish it should have been a TV show, but The Eternals is aging well. I think Black Panther is a good movie. It won't get any worse. But it won't be in the top 10 for me.
And to be clear, it's unfair to this film to hold it up to what was the first Black Panther film, but we're inevitably going to compare it. The same reason people didn't like Love and Thunder as much, because it just wasn't Ragnarok. I think this film is going to struggle from that standpoint as well. And you can't not compare them, even though they are two completely different storylines, cast, at least main cast for sure. So, yeah. But let's get into talking spoilers. Spoilers officially ahead from here on out.
There you go, friends. We will be naming surprise characters, full-on plot development. We'll be telling you what the credit scene is. Yeah. So if you don't want to hear any of that, please come back and check us out after you see the movie. I highly recommend you don't spoil any of the fun for yourself. Go watch the movie. Enjoy it. Go see it opening weekend with all the excited people. But Bryan, let's spoil away.
We start out the film. We do like a television cold open. We go in, and Shuri's in her lab trying to recreate the heart-shaped herb. How that would save her brother, I'm not entirely sure, because he already has it in him. So I'm not 100% sure that was fully thought out, but they deal with the death of T'Challa off screen while it still is very present on screen, one of my biggest changes they made in this film that was very present right from the very beginning was Shuri has an AI now, and that didn't
she's
work
got a
for
Jarvis.
me. Yeah, that didn't work for me.
Like,
what is the Jarvis's name? I couldn't ever quite make out what they were saying.
I don't know. She just said, I think she just kept saying, I have an AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of a sudden she's got a Jarvis. I'm going, wait, why? But starting off, I think they handled it perfectly. Hey, the elephant in the room is T'Challa. How did he die?
So I think
they don't really.
Is it Griot? Is that the AI voiced by Trevor Noah?
I
think it is.
It was Trevor Noah.
I think it is. So Griot, Griot.
Oh, Trevor Noah from The Daily Show for all you listeners. I like that they handled it right away, but that was my first thought is, okay, did he somehow lose the heart flower and they were trying to give it back to see if it could cure? That part I didn't quite understand. So, but that's a good way to think of it as a TV cold open. You have it. We're going to face this right away. We're going to show everyone is hurting and the recovery process, just like the viewers. And then we get the Marvel intro, a very special one.
You didn't like it.
I did like the.
You did. When I brought it up earlier, it didn't seem like you liked it.
Oh no, I think I was just still in a. I don't want to say disappointment. That sounds so bad. No, I'm glad they did it. I think had you not had it, it was a special moment. You needed to have the Chadwick Boseman Marvel Studios title sequence.
Yeah. So this is the second time we got it, but it was newly revamped. I can't wait to see it kind of slowed down. They had a lot of behind the scenes stuff too, similar to what they did with the Stan Lee one with Captain Marvel, where you get more behind the scenes, the man himself and not just the character. Yeah. It was silent too. That's what made it that much more powerful.
Yeah, because you get the death and then we go right into it. Man, that was perfect that there was no audio to it. I think it's slightly different, but it's pretty much the same one as the one when they released Black Panther on Disney Plus, and they put the Chadwick Boseman intro. That's the one for all you viewers.
That is where I saw it, wasn't it? I couldn't remember what it was before. It was with the Disney Plus release. That's correct. The funeral scene did confuse my son a little bit because it was a celebration of life rather than a mourning of his death. I thought that was an interesting way that they portrayed that funeral. The people of Wakanda obviously not happy and celebrating, but it was really more of a celebration of life rather than mourning his death, which is a fine creative choice for me.
Coming from New Orleans, where we have a line for funerals with marching bands and people doing it, going down to the quarter, going down the cemetery, I related to it. I thought it, you're celebrating this person's life. I mean, there was one guy who, when they were coming down the street, he was smiling. I was like, why are you smiling? Stop smiling. Like, I see you on the big screen. Stop it. But that was about it.
So we cut to the United Nations, where it turns out the country of France is really trying not to be known as the Surrenderers anymore because they're trying to fully take over a Wakandan outreach lab. And they say that the vibranium is behind those doors and there's just a bunch of Dora Milaje back there. That was dope. I love that.
That was epic. Great reveal. I was totally wrong, hoping that maybe it was Dr. Doom's people trying to pick a fight and steal the vibranium. I was totally wrong on that. Angela Bassett in that scene in the UN owned it. And then when the Dora walk in, the soldiers, the French soldiers, and they just kneel to their command, I was like, yep, that was a great scene.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. We are talking full spoilers. There is no Dr. Doom whatsoever in this film, despite popular reports that we would see something in a post-credit scene or whatever. It didn't happen. It didn't surprise me that it didn't happen. Seeing a Latveria in the UN would have been kind of fun.
Ooh, yeah. No Avengers, maybe one possible future young Avenger, and that's about it.
Being Riri Williams?
Yeah.
Okay. So we cut to the ocean again, where we're spending all this time. They've got this machine, and I think this is one of the biggest things I struggle with in the entire film was we have this yellow box on the bottom of the ocean built by a 19-year-old. Riri Williams was a MacGuffin for the story. That she was simply there to make the story happen. That was it. And that was a giant bummer for me. She is getting her own Disney Plus series. There is going to be things happening within that Disney Plus series. Does Shuri make an appearance? Probably not, the way that things end up. But I was very disappointed by the use of Riri Williams in this film because she literally was just the dagger from Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, man. I was going to make a Star Wars comparison too. I just read about how Andor is so great because it's finally they made a Star Wars series where they're not trying to sell merchandise. And I thought with her character, so she doesn't frustrate me as
Dominique Thorne is good in the role. She is.
She's great. So America Chavez in Doctor Strange, I thought horribly written. The actress, I'm sure, she seems like a wonderful person on social media. I wouldn't have probably casted her, but this character, Riri Williams in Black Panther, I was like, man, this is actually a really interesting character. And they give her a strong start, but then they kind of like fade her out, give her later in the movie a montage of building her suit. I know we're going to get to the chase scene that felt very forced, but I hope her TV series helps her out a lot. I think it will if they go the Miss Marvel route where you can develop and get us invested in the character. But her character just felt kind of forced in there. Like, hey, we're going to do a TV show. Can we put her in there and sell some merchandise? Cool.
When they keep throughout the film referring to her just as the scientist, we want the scientist. She literally felt like, bring me the map. Bring me like I want Captain Jack Sparrow. Like,
yeah,
it fell flat for me. You can convince me that there's a 19-year-old with MIT. I did laugh out loud when Okoye was like, "Is that an iPhone? So primitive." That was hilarious. Shuri going outside with Okoye. So not a ton happens. Again, a lot of pacing issues with this film is why I struggled. Let me just say it now so I don't have to say it again later. There's way too much slow motion. If I'm going to kill Black Adam for having too much slow motion, this didn't have as much, but it still had too much. When I talk about differences in the films that Coogler made, he made a choice to go lots of slow motion in this film. And for me, it just didn't work. I think for the most part, it was slow motion because of the water, but that was, Shuri falling off of the motorcycle. Let's talk about the chase scene. It did not even come close to measuring up to the chase scene in Busan from the first film.
That's just it. You had such a great one there, and this one, like, hey, we're gonna split up. No, stay together. Hey, we're gonna split up. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, hang on. Rewind. When they're burning the burial shrouds for T'Challa, and they had two of them. Mother burned one, and then Shuri went to burn hers, didn't. I go, that's how they're going to end the movie. She's going to look inside herself, rediscover something, and then be ready to burn it later. Foreshadowing. So
yeah, that didn't super bother me either, though.
It didn't bother me, but I was just like, all right, well, that one's a little predictable. But anyways, back to the chase scene.
It's the first time we've gone to Boston in the MCU.
Is it?
We went to MIT technically in Civil War, but we didn't go to the city of Boston.
Why did we go to MIT? Oh, Tony Stank.
It's where Tony
gave a presentation. Yeah,
it's where Tony debuted Barf.
with Dean in the background, upset, crying.
But yeah, but it was cool to see Boston. I guess. I don't have an attachment to that city whatsoever. But it's cool to be in a new place. But the chase scene overall, Riri's suit was supposed to be pretty lackluster, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I was okay with the exoskeleton.
Yeah, I want to know what the arc reactor was.
Actually, Brian, since you and I both took trips to Boston this year, I think you and I can both agree that is not a city that you want to get into a car chase in.
No, that's very true.
No, not at all. Yeah, they didn't really get into her power source, but that's why we have a TV show. I will wait for Ironheart uh, for hopefully a little more character development. But the chase scene was very lackluster. I'm glad it was short. And then we finally get some.
You think it was short? I thought it was pretty long. I thought the stuff on the motorcycle went on for a little while. Arguing with the AI of who gets
then
to drive
she
the
was
car.
like talking to the AI, like, take me off autopilot. Like, it's like, where did this Jarvis come from?
Yeah, I didn't love it. Then the I was gonna say Atlanteans. Namor's people show up.
I would have understood.
On whales, which I mean that's how they travel
Aw.
apparently.
There's like a little killer whale.
Okoye finally meets her match. She's never met her match before, but when that dude shoved that spear into the ground and slammed her into it, I felt that. I felt that.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were going to off her in this movie.
In the middle of that fight, I was like, I don't think they have the guts to do it. And then she fell in the water. I'm like, okay, she's definitely not dead.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do it later. Kind of a way for her to redeem herself after her fall from grace. But
we do what Marvel does a lot of, for better or worse. We find a reason why the villain is the way the villain is. We spend time in his city they just straight up jacked those 2 suits from those people that they killed at the beginning because they put.
What happened to the 2 divers, Bryan?
I know, right?
Speaking of which, what's her name? The CIA agent. She's an actual actress.
I thought it looked like Idina Menzel, but it's not her.
No. Hang on.
Well, let's while you're doing that, we skipped over one of my favorite parts of the film where Shuri says she's going to go see her favorite colonizer, and we check in with Agent Ross running through the streets of Alexandria, Virginia. Agent Ross was married to Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Lake Bell, that's the actress name.
Oh, Lake Bell was the CIA agent lady?
Yeah, the one who went down very quickly in the helicopter. It was like, oh, she's probably the scientist. Nope, there she goes. She's down. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, Julie Louise Dreyfus.
Did you know she was in this film? That was completely unspoiled for me.
I didn't, but also I don't think. Okay, we've had. You had the version of her in Black Widow.
Post-credit scene only.
Which is very similar to the one that we got in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This one, she did not seem like the same one. The same Val.
How so?
Her performance wasn't as at first when she was talking to the cop, I was like, oh, okay. But then when she was with Martin Freeman, she just didn't feel like the same woman. I don't know.
She felt less sure of herself. I think
more vulnerable.
She did feel more vulnerable, but I think that's part of it is one, she's spending a bunch of time with her ex-husband, which would throw anybody off, I think. Turns out her ex-husband is feeding military secrets to who they're viewing as an enemy at the moment. So I think there's part of that.
When you say it like that, it sounds bad.
And we're also just simply spending more time with the character. We've now triple or quadrupled the amount of time that character's been on screen now that we've gotten her in this film. So,
yeah.
But she did seem less confident. I will absolutely give you that. It turns out she was pretty confident because she tracked the Kimoyo beads the entire time anyway, which was interesting.
Right. Which, pretty sneaky.
But it was good to see her. Her and Ross having been in a relationship, I thought was a fun little twist. That didn't bug me. But then let's just skip to the end and we'll close the book on Ross and Val. Ross getting busted out by Okoye in her Predator costume was really interesting. I don't love those what did she call them? Midnight Angel suits. It really looked like the Predator to me.
Oh wait, when Ross is running through and the little bug drone is flying, I wish he would have been like, I wish he would have made an Ant-Man joke. like that better not be you, or something like that. But yeah, those suits. I think also Marvel, I just want them to stop being so spectacle. And in this one, we kind of did it. Those suits, I felt like kind of took away from the Wakanda vibe for me. Everyone is starting to now have an Iron Man suit. Is kind of what I got the vibe.
Well, and it's also a way of making Okoye the Black Panther without making Okoye the Black Panther. I mean, Shuri said they have superhuman abilities when they wear those things. So I mean, I don't know. We'll come back to those here in a bit, but we spend time with Namor explaining to Shuri why he is the way that he is, but they end up still being at odds at the end of it. Even though Shuri doesn't have any governmental decision making, he's trying to explain his case to her. But again, they just straight up jacked those suits from those people. But if people are gonna laugh at how Mark Ruffalo looks in the Hulkbuster at the end of Infinity War when he says, "You guys are so screwed now," then we've got to talk about how a little bit silly Shuri looked in that suit and Riri looked in her Iron Man suit at the end. And there was just a few faces that didn't blend well with the CGI costumes.
I thought that with underwater Namor, when he's got the headpiece on and he's sitting in the throne talking to the crowd, I kept looking at him going, is that CGI? Is he? Because the mouth didn't match up with the words. And
I think I'm blaming that one on our projector.
Yeah?
Okay. I think that was our projector because that was way too off for them to have gotten wrong.
Yeah, I
need to see it again to make sure, but it did feel very off. That was the one underwater scene that just didn't work, and I'm blaming our projector, maybe unfairly.
Good listeners of the show, Frankie and Patrick, they're singing 3D tonight, 3D, cheap 3D tricks, and I gotta ask them what they think. I could be talked into seeing that in 3D, see if that helps out at all as well.
The slow motion water scenes will be the reason for seeing that in 3D.
Yeah.
So Nakia, I've forgotten Nakia existed at this point, and they go to Haiti. They check in with Nakia, and her mom says, "Hey, you weren't," or his mom says, "You weren't at the funeral. I wonder why." It sounds like she actually should have known why she wasn't there. Post-credit scene we'll save, but I thought that was a curious thing once we finished the film. But Nakia is back into her old ways. She pretty much declares war on, what is the name of the kingdom? That's the problem doing this the day of the movie, because I can't remember everything. But Atlantis, until we can remember the actual name of the place that starts with a T.
I'm researching it for you, Brian. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, but Nakia basically declares war by killing that person, and Shuri understands this. Shuri has compassion. She tries to save her. It was really just a, hey, I don't want to go to war. I don't think it was Shuri being compassionate to want to save the life of another person. I just think it was, hey, I don't want to go to war, which was interesting. But Nakia is a very capable warrior, and she's back to her old ways, which was good. I'd completely forgotten about the character of Nakia by the time we got to Haiti and checking in with her. So that was a good time to introduce her. I thought that was well done. But they get back to Wakanda. They say to fortify everything, and it just doesn't mean anything. They don't ever explain how Namor and his people get into the borders. They say to beef up security around the borders, in the water, all that kind of stuff, and it just doesn't matter. Like, they don't explain how they infiltrate.
I also forgot Nakia, like when she showed up on screen, I was like, oh yeah, hey, and I feel bad because I actually really like her character. And she also got talked into that mission very easily, and is she that good to where she could infiltrate them that quickly?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
She is that good.
We'll go with it. But you're right. The Queen Mum should have probably known, unless they decided not to tell her that. I don't know. Also, the name of the city is the Talokan.
Yeah.
Talokan.
They said his name as well in the how they refer to him, not Namor, but his other name. They said that many times too, and that's a hard one to pronounce.
Cuckoo.
But
Yeah.
what did you make of the visuals of this attack on Wakanda? Was gorgeous from top to bottom. Really well done stuff.
The attack was great. I'm glad they went differently so it didn't look like the same attack on Wakanda from Infinity War. It was definitely a different kind of attack. I agree with you. We never really understood. Did they just swim deeper in the water? There was no real technology blocking Wakanda's technology, so I didn't get that. And also, we have the sirens hypnotizing people and making them jump overboard. I guess that's just a gift that culture has.
It ends up being kind of wasted. They only use it those 2 times, and it never really plays a role in the major battle either, which I thought was curious. I expected it to play much more of a role later on. One thing
They did blow them up though when they were using it in the big battle.
One thing we didn't touch on that I would be upset if we didn't. My favorite scene in the film is when Queen Ramonda has to talk about everything that she's lost, and when she has to strip Okoye of being the general. I thought
Her Oscar clip.
I thought that scene was from both Denai Guerrera and Angela Bassett acted perfectly. Denai Guerrera, we love the character of Okoye, the way they've developed her throughout Infinity War, Endgame, and the first Black Panther. You know how much she's sacrificed, but then when Angela Bassett throws back on her, you stood with Killmonger for your loyalty to the throne, not to my family. Like, and you can see it. You can see the performance in Denai Guerrera and Okoye realizing that she's correct. She's right. That shot of the spear going into the ground with Okoye walking out of the room, brilliant shot, excellent scene.
And they brought that up several times, that the council didn't stand by them, that they sided with Killmonger. So I was glad they didn't just let that go like, oh, we're cool now, just like that.
But it also explains why M'Baku is on that council now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought, who doesn't like M'Baku? But that scene there, powerful Oscar nomination clip right there, locked.
I'm not going to say anything because he's in still much better shape than I will ever be in my entire life. But M'Baku looking a little bit thick today in that film.
So in the theater Bryan and I went to over at Disney Springs, the AMC there, they have costumes. One of them is M'Baku. And I remember looking at it going, that looks smaller than I thought it would be.
He's a massive dude.
Oh, yeah. Big guy. So I don't want to say he put on fluff, because Lord knows I'm working on getting rid of some of my fluff, but he did look a little more M'Baku.
But he also didn't get blipped, we don't think. So maybe he just spent 7 years. I thought him and Shuri were going to get married. Like, we're going to talk about M'Baku at the end of the film because I still don't understand what they were going for there. So we're going to have to talk a little bit more about that when we get there. But M'Baku wanting to kill the Fishman and then being completely outmatched. I thought everything they did with M'Baku was good, but we didn't have enough of it because that character is so much fun.
I agree. He was more the mentor role in this one, which at times I didn't fully understand. Not that I didn't understand, more so just I think they were confused on how to get him into that mentor role, so it just didn't fit very smoothly for me.
But it's paying off T'Challa's sense of compassion right at the first challenge day in the first film. He says to M'Baku, "Don't make me kill you." Even though M'Baku gets right with him by literally bringing T'Challa back to life, he still feels that sense of ownership for her sister. There was a lot of callbacks to the first film and then after, so Queen Ramonda dies in the attack, and they're at the funeral where Shuri makes a callback to the first film of now you want to listen to a child who scoffs at tradition. And M'Baku just says, with what you've been through, you're not a child anymore. I thought I thought what they did, I thought the relationship with Shuri and M'Baku was really well done. It's curious to see that character in a mentor state because he really just hasn't been that. But I do think that it was developed enough that him being Shuri's mentor actually worked, especially since, unfortunately, she doesn't have anybody else.
Yeah, and that death,
other than Okoye, she does have that.
That death surprised me. It didn't hit me as hard as I thought it would. I guess it was just a quick death, and they didn't like milk it.
They didn't milk it to their credit. I think I thought it was possible, but then like I wasn't surprised, but I wouldn't have predicted it. But they've set up a story with Shuri of she's literally got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's not rushed like someone's death in Guardians 2, like where it was rushed too soon. It was definitely a good time for it. I just maybe a little underplayed.
He did call you Twig. So let's cut to they're at Ramonda's funeral. Shuri gets this resolve to try and recreate the synthetic heart-shaped herb, and how they bring the heart-shaped herb back using the plant in Namor's mom's bracelet. From a comic book explanation standpoint of how you're going to make this synthetic plant, it actually works really well for me. It wasn't just hey, there's more vibranium over here, therefore there's more heart-shaped herbs. Like, it actually, the way they tied that into recreating the heart-shaped herb actually worked well for me.
Yep, I was good with it. I didn't think that was too easy or okay, fine. I think that was legit and good.
So she takes the heart-shaped herb. She goes in to see her ancestors sitting on the throne. Eric Killmonger Stevens, played by Michael B. Jordan. They did not spend as much money on his makeup, on the marks on his chest. That was obvious to me. But what did you make of Killmonger showing up in this scene, Mark?
That surprised me. I loved that he was in it. He needed to be in it for that scene, for what she was dealing with. It was not a forced cameo. It was not a cheap cameo. That was great for the story.
It was spoiled to me from the standpoint of Michael B. Jordan was at the premiere. And I said, man, they better not bring him back to life. They did reference Daniel Kaluuya's character from the first one being Okoye's husband, and he's just locked up in prison for being a traitor, but she gets to go see him whenever she wants to, and Ramonda lost everyone. I was like, please don't tell me like that Killmonger's still alive.
Yeah.
And he's not. So, I mean, it was interesting. That was quite a shock to see him on the throne. I think the way that they do it of her acting in vengeance actually worked really well. And then calling back again to the first film of show him who you are, when Ramonda says that to Shuri, when she realizes that she's not her brother and noble, but she isn't out for vengeance either. And realizing the difference between Killmonger and her and what that needed to be was interesting. I wish Marvel had not blinked and shown us the Black Panther scene of her dropping into the snowy cave. I wish we hadn't seen that in a trailer, because that scene was dope. That suit is awesome.
Great suit, great reveal. I think it definitely took away by having it in the preview. I don't understand why Marvel felt the need to ruin that with Black Adam. I think they were worried about their ticket sales, so they had to let us know that Superman was in it. But with this one, you're Marvel. You don't need to tell us that. So I don't get it. And
especially since she didn't show up until 30 minutes left in the film. We spent 2 hours without a Black Panther.
It also took away from who is going to be the Black Panther. We all know. We all knew.
We knew.
Yeah.
We certainly knew. But it was cool. And again, mentor-mentee relationship between M'Baku and Shuri. She clears the room just to speak to M'Baku. Shows the respect that she has for him and really his rank amongst the club. that guy on the council with that massive disc in his lip. I just think about it every time going, man, how uncomfortable would that be? But they respected her as the queen right away, even though they still called her Princess Shuri throughout the film, which I thought was interesting. But they come up with a plan to weaken Namor's skin to not be able to pull the oxygen from the water, to dry him out, basically. It worked. It worked fine. But M'Baku says, don't act in vengeance, and that's all she was doing. She wouldn't tell Nakia who she saw on the ancestral plane. None of that stuff. So it was, I mean, you knew a downfall was coming.
Him.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to help me.
Yeah. You knew a downfall was coming. I don't know how we get that ship blaring that sonic boom under the water, and yet that one person can still swim up there to jam up the thing, but that's fine. The ship, I would have loved to have seen the inside of, because it looks cool. I'm sure the Wakandan technology inside that ship. But what did you make of this big battle? It actually was pretty underwhelming for me.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. I was going to say, somehow she swims up it. Yeah, she's a stronger character. Okay, she can do it. Then you had them climbing overboard, swarming the ship. It's not going to plan. I think it was a visual fail. It just didn't work for me. So it felt very towards the end of Aquaman, that kind of battle. Like, we had the whales carrying the soldiers, them coming overboard. Hey, we're going to take them on and hope for the best on their home court. I don't know. It was a very weak climax.
I'm not a massive Avatar fan, but it does feel like everything swimming with the whales viewed underwater is going to be done better in Avatar 2.
Well, we did see that preview before the movie, the newest one.
Yeah.
Preview, and it looks very pretty.
It definitely looks pretty, that's for sure, but it's 190 minutes long.
Yeah.
I don't know. That entire final battle scene was underwhelming. I thought Shuri destroying that ship and blasting Namor was a fun trick up her sleeve.
Yeah.
But overall, she cuts off the wings to his feet. I guess those just regrow. They're regenerating like the head in Men in Black. But I don't know. Like, he takes advantage of her compassion because he's going to basically manipulate her and her people whenever anything happens. Namor's eventually going to turn, we assume. He's at least an anti-hero and not a full-blown villain. But he leaves this film as still a full-blown villain, which does surprise me a little bit. But I don't know. It left a lot to be desired for me, but her suit, Shuri being the Black Panther, I'm completely good with it.
Yep. The Namor battle at the end there was good. You're like, okay, we're going to throw back it here with yield, say you yield for your people and peace and all that. Okay. I'm glad they didn't just make him all of a sudden turn over a new leaf. That you're right. There's more to him. This is going to play in down the road. I don't know how. I mean, Marvel, I feel like, is starting to write storylines that they don't actually follow through. So,
well, they did make the first film dropped reference of the word mutant. Namor is a full-blown mutant.
Yeah, they did say that. That was good. Her suit, I think it was great. It represented Killmonger and T'Challa, I feel like. So,
yeah, it was a good suit, but she says she's got some things to do. It's challenge day. M'Baku is the one that comes out of the ship, says she's not coming, but he's going to challenge for the throne, and they just leave it at that. Is that just M'Baku being M'Baku? I don't imagine it's anything more than that.
I didn't quite get that scene.
Made no sense. They go back to I mean, it was cool to be back at the falls. I think that's visually like the best scene from the first film. So I mean, that was cool, and Shuri's got to go through the process.
I'm like, are we going back to the waterfall? Like, isn't that part of the process? Okay.
But she's just gonna not do it, which I mean is what it is. But M'Baku, I just feel like it's M'Baku being M'Baku. I don't quite understand it. Ross gets broken out again by Predator Okoye. Nothing Nothing overly surprising there. So the colonizer is going back to Wakanda. Riri's going back to Boston. She's got her car now. We're going to pick up with Riri at MIT in her series. I'm assuming she's going to have her car. She's going to have a lot of Wakandan technology, which is going to help her advance her story and make it not as much of an origin, I assume.
Did you, when Ross was getting broken out, were you wondering if this was going to be a Thunderbolts cameo?
I genuinely thought it could have been John Walker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
where
like,
Val caused him to get arrested, and then Val saves him at the same time. I thought it could have been somebody like that.
I was waiting for it. Yeah,
it would have not made a ton of sense within the context of the film, though. So I'm glad it wasn't. I mean, it makes sense that it was Okoye. But yeah. But we finished the film with, like you said, Shuri burning the outfit. And then a little boy shows up with Nakia in the post-credit scene. T'Challa, son of T'Challa. I think that this is the best possible way they could do this, by saying they're not recasting the character, but you can pass the mantle of King T'Challa at some point. I thought that was actually well thought out, and it genuinely surprised me, and I actually really liked the scene.
I loved it. That kid probably had to be on top of the world to be cast as that character.
He's adorable, man. He's got old dimples in his cheeks and everything. He was adorable.
I was like, man, if this kid had a meet and greet, I'd want to go meet him. He seems like a cool kid. But you know me, I've had struggles with child actors in the last couple of Marvel movies. That kid, he even reminded me of Chadwick Boseman a little bit with his smile.
He really did.
There's something in the smile. I was like, yes, I am all for this kid. And he's like, you look like someone who can be trusted and keep secrets. And I was just like, oh, say his name, say it, King. So that was great.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if they've added that kid to the IMDb roster yet. But his Toussaint was his Haitian name, but he is T'Challa, son of T'Challa. Zayden James is the actor. All they have him in the credits of IMDb is Wakandan Child. So there you go. But anyway, overall, I like the film. Middle of the MCU for me. It will never reach the top 10. I do hope that I like it a little bit more upon subsequent rewatches, but there doesn't seem to be anything in it that I'm struggling with to understand. I just think there's certain things I struggle with that'll never improve. I like it. I don't love it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be one I can watch anytime. I'll have to be in the mood for this one, I think. It's definitely like two thumbs worthy for me, but it's not my top 10.
But not all thumbs are created equal.
I know. Did you say it was in your top half or no?
I middle of the pack. I would have to really sit down and do it, but top half, probably not. I think when we did the exercise on Earth's Mightiest Weirdos, I think my number 16 film, which would be the first or the last film in the top half, is Black Widow. I think I like Black Widow more.
Whoa.
I like Black Widow.
I like Shang-Chi more than this.
Well, I had that above both of those.
Yeah. So this, for me, this
does close out phase 4. Let's do that real quick. Favorite film in phase 4? Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, right?
Oh, wait, no, because Spider-Man No Way Home is in that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So Spider-Man No Way Home, then Shang-Chi. Oh, man. Then it's either Thor Love and Thunder or Wakanda Forever, then Eternals, then Doctor Strange.
All right. Sounds good.
So Eternals is growing for me. Like I said, it's no longer the bottom.
Sounds good. It's hard to compare films and television shows, so that's a big part of when you're comparing phase 4, what really comes out on top. But when we're looking at just films, This would be middle of the road for me, but this does officially close out Phase 4. We do have Phase 5 kicking off with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in just a few months.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, no, is Guardians the wrap-up of Phase 4? No, the holiday special.
I don't think it really is going to have... they have said Wakanda Forever ends it, but
okay.
I don't think the holiday special is going to really have an effect on either one.
And speaking of holiday special, once that comes out, Bryan and I will be ranking a Marvel year in review. So stay tuned for that episode coming soon.
Any last minute things on Wakanda Forever, Mark?
I know it seems like this was a glass is half empty kind of episode. Please don't. It's a wonderful movie. Lots of good visuals in it. Like I said, if this is Ryan Coogler's weakest film, then man, this guy is a talented filmmaker. So go see it. Go see it in theaters. A Marvel movie opening weekend in theaters is an experience unlike any other.
Am I happy this film exists? Absolutely. Am I excited for the next appearance of the character of Shuri as Panther? She just simply goes by Panther, which I thought was interesting. Fix her Jarvis. She doesn't need a Jarvis. That bummed me out. That dragged the film down for me quite a bit. Yep. But am I happy this film exists? Absolutely. It's just not as good as the first one. And this is the problem Marvel has, is you got too many good films, and I'm going to comb them through with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, and I think She-Hulk kind of foreshadowed, oh, we're going to do that Marvel thing where we have a big beatdown finale. Got it. So, yeah, She-Hulk.
Careful what you wish for there.
I know. Shout out to listener and friend Josh, who worked on Thor: Love and Thunder. He also worked on this one. You'll see his name in the credits. So shout out to him. Yeah, thank you all for listening with us today. We hope you enjoyed our special review episode. We will be getting out there some more United We Fan episodes coming soon this year, but we just really want to share our reviews of movies. But if you'd like to get in touch with the show, Bryan, let them know how they can do it.
You can find us on Instagram at UnitedWeFan_podcast, or find us on Facebook at UnitedWeFan, the podcast.
Yeah, we thank you, fellow fans, for uniting with us as always. Please give us a rate or review wherever you listen. We love reading them. And plus it helps more people find us when you give us a review. Till we unite again, fans, Wakanda Forever.
I am going to give you 2 options. You can come to Wakanda, conscious or unconscious.